I am pretty sure that I have overcome all of my seasonal allergies, and I have done it by understanding what's going on when these allergies are happening, and then producing an exercise protocol to make sure that they go away. Now, there's a few things that happen when you have allergies, and I should note that I don't have any scientific evidence to back that this thing works, but I have a lot of my own experience to prove that I have not taken an allergy pill since December, and it seems to be really working. And I think this is an understanding of what's going on in my system and producing an effect to make sure that I am restoring myself back to good quality function. So the first thing I think what happens is my understanding and my impression of what's going on is that an allergen gets into my system, a piece of dust goes into my nose, whatever it is, season pollen, you name it, I don't know what it is, gets in there, and my system perceives it as a threat, and that threat produces this extension, it produces this stiffness throughout my body, and because of that, it is unable to flush my system of that allergen. So now this normal movement, the pumping of my hips, the pumping of my ribs, the pumping of my sphenoid, and when I say that, I'm thinking, my hips need to go like that, my ribs need to be able to come in and out like that, and my sphenoid up here needs to be able to oscillate as well with all of my breathing and all of my movements. The sphenoid is just a bone right behind the eye, and what I want to do now is, as this builds and I'm unable to flush it, the symptoms continue to get worse and worse and worse until over time I'm able to flush that out, get rid of that allergen, and restore myself back to this good functioning pumping from my hips, ribs, and sphenoid. So what I've done was I created this exercise program to make sure that I'm force feeding my body this pumping action. I go 30 minutes, I have 5 exercises, and it's all designed to pump this system. The first exercise that I do is an isometric Pallof press hold, isometric anti-rotation. Band coming from the side, I press it straight out. I bend my knees a little bit to unlock my hips. I press it all the way out like a scap push-up, a scapular serratus punch. I'm pressing all the way out to kind of drive my ribs backwards. And the idea behind this is to be able to hit both sides. I go 30 seconds each to hit both sides of my abs, so that I'm pumping one side of my abs, I'm pumping the other side of my ribs, so that I'm getting that oscillation, that pumping action from my ribs. Now you're going to see I'm going to try and hit all of the avenues here, right? My second thing that I do is I find a nice maybe 15-yard stretch where I do bear crawls, but I do special bear crawls because I want to attack the physiological state of my body. I take a small swig of water. I do not swallow it. I keep it in my mouth. I get into the bear crawl position and I exhale all of my air. And then I do not inhale again as I start the bear crawl. I try to find my left abs when I reach with my right hand. I reach with my left hand. I try to find my right abs when I'm reaching with my left hand. And I have that alternating and reciprocal function. I pump every time I feel those abs. I have to feel them because that's me pumping those ribs. I'm still not breathing until I get to that panic mode situation. Then I get back into child's pose, press through the ground, start breathing again, getting my air back in through my nose, out through my mouth, or actually not out through my mouth because I still have the water in there. And this is a thing called buteyko breathing. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to downregulate my system, reduce the perceived threat in my system. And what's happening here is as you want to breathe in again, what you're feeling is not a need for oxygen. That panic mode is not a need for oxygen. That is low tolerance to carbon dioxide, to CO2. You want to be able to have a high tolerance for CO2, which is going to downregulate your system, downregulate the amount of threat that is perceived in your system. And allowing yourself to do this while working or while bear crawling is really promoting that downregulatory effect, downregulating the amount of threat that's in that system, so on and so forth. So I'm really reaching, I'm getting that, and I'm not breathing. I'm hitting it from a number of different angles. And then on the way back, I really need to emphasize driving my hand through the ground, especially through the palm of my hand, pressing back, pressing back, pressing back. Same thing every time. Before I start up the bear crawl again, I exhale all my air, and then I start going through the bear crawl again. Now the bear crawl takes time. It takes several minutes to go through it, and it's going to be a lot harder if you currently have allergies because you are currently upregulated. It's going to be a lot harder for you to do that. Your CO2 resistance is going to be a lot lower, so it's going to be a lot harder for you to go through that, but that's just a sign that this is what you need. And then I stand up, I get back on my band, I do a split squat, a semi-lunge, semi-split squat, rotational row. So I really row, I open up my hips, I open up my ribs, and then I come back. I make sure I feel my hips closing into my front leg, into that stance, like getting into that left stance if my left foot is the one that's up. I feel my body rotating through it. Now the key with this, just like in the bear crawl, we're going to change this up a little bit, and this time we're going to do this with our eyes closed. I want to get rid of that visual system. The visual system is really strong, really easy to upregulate the system, and what I really want to do is I really want you to feel your body working. I want you to feel these muscles work. I want you to feel yourself getting into these stance positions in order to make this happen. And the easiest way to do that is for you to close your eyes and just be in this motion. Go through the process and just feel your body move through space. That's the stability that you need. You don't want to be overstabilized on something that is causing this upregulation of your system. The next exercise that I'm going to do, I lay on my back. I do hamstring curls with a mat on the ground where I bring it in. I keep my low back as flat as I possibly can and try to posteriorly tilt my pelvis. And this way, I'm going to bring it in and I go slow on the way out, and I do that for about 10 reps. And of course, I repeat this over and over and over again. And what this is doing is this is pulling my hips back. It is allowing my entire body to go back. It is allowing myself to pump my hips through your pelvis, through your hamstring, pump it into that posterior tilt, and allowing yourself to get out of that arched forward, that arched threatened state. The last thing I do is I do an adductor plank. I lay on my side like I'm about to do a side plank. I put the side of my foot on top of a bench and I bridge myself up to get my inner thigh on that top leg. I do that for 15 seconds on each side, and that's going to, in the frontal plane, shift my hips back and forth. What's great news about all this is that as your hips pump, as your ribs pump, so will your sphenoid. You will be promoting that movement in your sphenoid the entire time, especially with that physiological attack in the bear crawl. I do all of this. I do 30 seconds on the Palloff anti-rotation press. I do about 15 yards down and back, frontwards and backwards for the bear crawl. I do 10 reps each on the row. I do 10 hamstring curls and then 15 seconds each on the adductor plank. I do go about that for 30 minutes. And then there's a really important part to the end of the workout, and it is a 15-minute meditation. You need to down-regulate your system as much as you can. Feel yourself breathe. Feel your ribs expand in the back, in the front, and in contralateral patterns. Feel your body breathe. Feel your body in that state. Be in the present for 15 good quality minutes, allowing your body to just calm down. That's really the problem. You need to start flushing the system, restoring that movement. That is what you need. So make sure that you are able to restore that good quality function. That 15-minute meditation is exactly what's going to put the cherry on top of this allergy workout. And if you can do that, you should feel a lot better at the end. You're not going to feel amazing at the end, but you should feel a lot better because now we just are creating that pumping action, and now your system can start flushing everything out. And then over time, the next morning, maybe 24 hours later, you should start feeling almost back to normal. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think.